make this live on YouTube as well as um, go ahead and are you sharing the screen?
Yes, I'm sharing the screen version.
Perfect. All right, welcome everyone. Good morning. This is Roshan, CEO of InsuredMine, and thank you all for joining. As you know, this is a series of our sessions that we have been working on with you all, which is called Mission I Am Possible. Well, Mission Impossible as we kind of mess with the word. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about life insurance. And, this has been one of the requests that has come in the past about, we are doing fantastic in terms of, increasing our policies count per customer. But what other things can we add to that and increase that cross-sell opportunity? And nothing better than life insurance. And when I think about life insurance, I could not have thought of better person than Manny to be joining us today. So we will go through a quick introduction, but let's before we do that, couple quick housekeeping items. Going on to the next slide. So what does our agenda look like today? First 5-10 minutes, we're going to go through a quick introduction of Manny and some of the things we're talking about. And then the session is expected to be half an hour to 40 minutes. And this will be an interactive one. So, feel free to ask your questions to Manny, and he will be talking about some of the things of how to establish life insurance in your agency. And then at the end, if you have any other questions, we'll go through that. Moving on to the next slide. All right. So we'll start with Manny here, why life insurance. But before we jump into the question, Manny, if you help our audience know what you do every day and, a quick introduction, and then we dive right into why life insurance we're talking about. So please.
Thank you so much, Roshan. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm doing a Zoom from home, so I'm in a t-shirt and I got one of my company shirts on. It says, "Do you know?" And the reason why I kind of termed the shirt "Do you know?" it's because lots of people have no idea about their unfortunate future plans. We got rising inflation. We have runaway stagflation at some point in time. I'm guessing the next month or two. That's when inflation is on the rise, and your income, your paychecks are not on the rise. They're staying stagnant. We got healthcare going through the roof. We've got baby boomers, 81 million Americans that are all going to retire and unfortunately go through some health challenges. Then we have our incredible social security system, as well as the deficiency in our U.S. debt system, which our United States debt is at 30 trillion with a T. So normally when I go into a conversation, I'm asking different people, like, tomorrow, God forbid you were to have cancer tomorrow, what would be your cancer plan? And they get really discombobulated. They're like, man, I've never really anticipated that. I just thought, life up until I'm about 85 years old is going to be okay. And unfortunately, I see these different scenarios that come up. People have cancer, people have heart attacks, strokes. Look, there was a pandemic 2 years ago, and we're barely getting through the woods, so to say. I've got so much to share with you, Roshan, but I'll overview the company. So I own the Financial Architects. We're a franchise, so I have 21 different locations currently. I've got more than 120 agents and brokers in the agency. So I don't necessarily need to show up with a suit anymore, but at the same time, my Instagram has to be active and popping. If you guys are on Instagram, you can follow me at Money Business Manny, or my Facebook, which is Manny Soto. So I'm open to any of the questions that you might have, Roshan, the audience, questions that you might have. You could fire away, because this is a great subject matter on life insurance and retirement planning. Oh, that's me in a suit.
Yeah, so we just wanted to make sure we see you in both versions. No, this is perfect. Manny, this is a perfect start, and I appreciate you joining us today and taking out your precious time. And being a part of this discussion. It's so important. As you said, there is so many things that we can worry about, but it's not about the risk. It's also about how we manage or mitigate that risk. And I think being able to be aware of that empowers people to sleep well at night.
Absolutely. I start a lot of I speak at a bunch of different real estate companies as well as tax institutions. And the number one thing that I normally start out with is, do you want to be proactive or are you a reactive person? A proactive person, of course, they're heavy in the insurance world. So those of you that are in property and casualty, I know the language, even though I'm not in property and casualty, I do know the language. What kind of insurance do you have on your home and your vehicle? If you're in California, I'm sure you're never going to have an earthquake there. These are different unfortunate incidents that people do not anticipate on. And when it happens, they should all over themselves. I should have gotten life insurance. I should have gotten better homeowners insurance. I should have gotten that umbrella insurance on my company and myself, God forbid something would happen. So the language is all the same. It's just the resource of getting the specific information and having, by the way, the best CRM system possible so that you can maneuver and navigate through that weed source, if you will.
I appreciate you plugging in the CRM aspect of it. All right. So just to give you a perspective, the audience over here and the people who would be listening to this are all insurance agents, and that size of an agency is from one agent to 100 to 200 producer agencies. So of all size. Now, the intent here is, okay, if I am an agent and I am selling home insurance, personal lines, everything, auto and commercial lines, but then how do I augment that with life insurance?
That's an easy question. Like I said, I'm a franchise, and our three most recent franchise owners that purchased a franchise were real estate brokers. And the reason why is because when they closed escrow, they had no idea that the client is going to get prospected by a life insurance company. They buy leads. So normally within about 2 weeks, sometimes even 2 months, that client or prospect is getting a cold call saying, hey, Bob, congratulations on your new home purchase. We'd like to give you that free quote on mortgage protection. They have no idea that the mortgage protection is life insurance. It's not PMI or anything like that they're anticipating. It's mortgage insurance, and their definition is, God forbid, you got a stroke tomorrow and you can't pay the mortgage. What is your stroke plan? Because if they're on disability, they get about 65% of what they get paid W-2. And if they're self-employed, they get nothing. So in anticipation of losing their job, yeah, of course, they're on unemployment, but what if they had a stroke or heart attack or a third-degree burn, or they become a paraplegic? They don't pass away. Life insurance is not just the type that you have to die to use. So saying mortgage protection is very powerful. I have a company in San Fernando. She does about 100 homeowners insurance policies a month. That's a lot. And obviously, that was back in 2020 and 21. Nowadays, she's probably cut to about 50 because that market is slowly tapering. But when she closes a transaction, she immediately offers mortgage protection as a result of it. And it just goes pretty well with the homeowner's insurance because it's a double and sometimes triple sale, depending on how well-versed they are on annuities as well.
Mm-hmm. Monserrat, do you want to move to the next slide, please?
Good question, by the way. That was a good question.
Yeah. So again, we are trying to set up the stage, and I'm sure there will be more questions coming up. Next slide, please. Yeah. So how can an agency motivate its agents to achieve its goal? And this question is more generic towards, okay, it's okay, I'm selling one product or many product, because I believe, that's the challenge you also experience as you are growing this massive network of all the agents.
Absolutely. So I'll give you the snapshot. We have 3 offices outside of California. One is in Oregon, the other one is in Dallas, Texas, and another one is in Phoenix, Arizona. And the most difficult task that I have as a leader is salt and peppering different information into their mindsets. Not to give you another plug, but I do that through a CRM system, because when you can create a subcategory for your agents, you can now send an independent email to your agents, an independent text message to your agents. So it becomes a lot more powerful. So let's say I have an emergency meeting that I want to have tomorrow at 9 a.m. I can just go on and send a group text message. I do have a group WhatsApp. I also have a group Facebook that encapsulates all these agents. And I let them know in the expectation meeting that I have with them from the jump that, hey, we have groups. So we have messages that we send out to the groups. It would be horrible for me to contact one by one each one of the brokers and agents. Instead, we have to have a group setting. And that's what the CRM, of course, helps me out with that. And these different WhatsApp group messages, things of that nature. So that's how I majority of the time motivate them. And I have other leaders in my company. So I have 2 guys that make over 7 figures, a good handful of guys that make over $250,000. So these are some pretty headstrong people. And as some of you on this Zoom know, it's somewhat difficult telling a guy that makes $1 million a year what to do. So I have to be a little bit, not walk on eggshells, but I have a powerful message. And the majority of people that make over $1 million a year, they're open anyways. So they're more open than the average person. That's how I motivate the agents. As far as goals go, I'm constantly talking about that. I'm really heavily into my goals. So I let them know I just made $1.6 million last month. And if you notice, I said it as if it's already happened. So they don't know whether it's happened or not, but I tell them as if it's just happened. And that's exactly how we need to express our goals, is to not just act as if, but goals are tangible. It's like this table right here, it has to be felt. So when I'm expressing that to my agencies, I have to let them know as if it's already happened. Hey, Bob, you just got 100,000 in target premium. How do you feel? And they're like, oh God, man, he's trying to pump me up again, but shit, that'd be nice.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I believe, every sales leader struggles with that, at some point of time. And sales is not a consistent or a constant thing. It also goes through its own cycle.
Yeah, it is. There's a good book by Maxwell called, the title of the book is The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And he used to be he pretty much is a pastor. And if any of you guys go to church, pastors have a difficult job. I mean, you walk into church knowing that you're about to be hit up for some money. And a pastor, to have a congregation grow over X amount of years, that's a pretty dramatic leader. And he talks about in his book something called the law of the lid. He talks about the law of E.F. Hutton. So all of these different subcategories are important in growing a business. But one of the most dramatic sections of the book is called the 5 levels of leadership, where he talks about the first level being you do not know what you do not know. So if I'm in insurance and I'm like, man, what's Manny even talking about? Life insurance. I've never even thought about that before. You do not know what you do not know. But then when I talk about there's $70 trillion worth of wealth being passed down from one generation to the next, now your mind starts to go, yeah, my mom and dad are going to retire. Yeah, my mom and dad are going to be giving me some money in the near future. How are their inheritors going to be inheriting the money? So it gets your wheels spinning, and you go to category 2, which is I know what I need to know. So that's the big changing point. So based on what you asked me, Roshan, that's really where it is it's a progression. It's kind of like a U, where you start out here, you start progressing, then you start progressing north. So you could get the 5th level of leadership is going just because of what you know. And you can go all the way back to, and you can rescind those guys that think that they know it all. They got the nice Rolex, they got the tailor-made suit, and they think their butts up the flagpole. They're not giving any feedback or helping anybody else. They normally rescind and they go right back to square one. And unfortunately, they become their own worst enemy.
Yeah, I still need to get one tailor-made suit. I don't have one.
I'll send you my tailor, bro.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Very nice of you. So talk to me about, what's the perspective of life insurance at this moment?
Well, I think that life insurance got a bad stigma because of the old school Primerica. Not to say anything about these multi-level marketing companies. They're great, but it's almost like you have it's kind of like guerrilla warfare. You got 20,000 people out there saying, you need life insurance, and it gives it just a bad stigma. But for me and my agency, we're more of, it's not to say we don't recruit, we're just more picky about the people that we get involved into our company. We're not recruiting everyone with a heartbeat and a license. They have to have some sort of sales skills. And where do they learn all these sales skills then? Well, I don't want to go through that process of teaching somebody how to make a phone call. I'll give them a script. They can be great at sales already, and we can recruit them in our organization. But as far as, you're going to be a champion, I mean, I'm done with that game. So 19 years ago, I was recruited by arguably one of the most motivational, inspirational guys in the world. His name was Ed Milet. And he recruited me in this company, or in his company, World Financial Group. And over 8.5 years, I learned a lot about motivating, inspiring, reading, self-developing, etc. I'll never forget him for that. But the same company that set me free was the same company that was holding me back. So when I left and I started my own company, that was the major change, is that I wanted to be more information driven. So making a long story longer on your question, the insurance world has changed dramatically in the past 12, 13 years. The reason why is because the old type of life insurance, you have to die to use it. Let me repeat that. You have to die to use it. So if I get a 30-year term policy and it costs me $80 a month, I legitimately have to pass away from my spouse or my beneficiary to get my $500,000 death benefit. That's in a term. Now with living benefits, I get a 30-year term, a 35-year term you can get nowadays. There's even 40-year term out there, but 35-year term, if we're talking about that. If I had a heart attack, stroke, or cancer, I can accelerate the $500,000 worth of death benefit and not have to die to use it. That's crazy. So it used to be people like a deep Latino guy like myself, my grandfather, even my dad, he's like, why? For Sancho? ¿Pa qué? Para su Sancho? Okay, that's in our language, right? And, unfortunately, that's how these old school Latinos think. They're like, I'm not going to give my wife a $500,000 life insurance policy so that she can spend it on her boyfriend. That's how they think. So nowadays it really changed because living benefits totally changes the game. And then of course you have permanent insurance, where now this is big, Roshan. If a lot of you insurance agents are taking notes, you have these permanent insurance plans that are legitimately better than a 401k, 403b, or 457. Now, I own an investment firm as well. I don't just do life insurance. So I pretty much know all of the variable investment buckets that there is out there. So if I get an IRA and I can't touch my money until I'm 59 and a half, and then I have to pay taxes at more than likely a higher tax bracket than I'm in right now because of runaway inflation and because of baby boomers going to retire and our US debt out of control, why would I want to pay taxes later in a bucket versus now and put it in my life insurance policy that can be invested in the index? So I'm talking kind of left field to you guys, I'm sure, but it just makes complete sense if you're very ear to the ground with taxation rising in the future. A life insurance policy can hedge that heavily. I mean, heavily. So that's something to be argued right now, more than in the 80s and 90s. In 1980, I mean, we came out with a 401k plan here in the United States, but you know, that's all obsolete long term. That was damn near 50 years ago.
No, that's very interesting that you mention it, that start looking at life insurance as a financial instrument, pre-death, technically, rather than just post-death for somebody else to be benefited from. So so two aspects to that, considering the audience that is listening to this, the information that you're providing, obviously they are trying to package it in their way because yes, a part of that will be consumed by them, but most of them will be packaged to be consumed by their customers that they're working with, right? So this is a lot of information that they make sure they understand well, because this is what they will be selling in a way.
I think the easiest way to transition from auto insurance to life is, it would be hilarious if I started to go and do car insurance. Like Roshan, you would laugh me out of the place. They need somebody as a resource, somebody that has their act together so that they could set them up and is not willing to give them a horrible contract. These multi-levels, they're going to give 40 and 50% contracts. But that's insulting in the life insurance industry. Mm-hmm. They should be started. They pay a brick and mortar, they pay a rent, and they pay their employees, and you're going to put them on a 50% horrible contract. That's sad. So all of my car insurance brokers, they start at a 90% contract. And if they want a franchise, they start at 100% contract. So it's completely different. And the professionality in auto is, I would argue that it's just as professional as our industry. It's not. I think the stigma out there is, oh, you do insurance, you do the little commission things. Like I was talking to a mortgage broker, like 3 years ago, and he told me that, and I wanted to show him my paycheck so bad, but I was just like, oh yeah, yeah, we do the little stuff. Anything that you can push our way, we'd really appreciate, sir. These cocky, arrogant dudes sometimes.
Oh, I hear you. So no, this is great. So let me ask you how, again, two things. One, guys, feel free to ask your questions if there is anything that you want Manny to answer. So obviously the intent is to keep it interactive, even though I'm asking questions on you guys' behalf, the questions I have received that would be used or leveraged by the larger audience. But all of you, please use the Q&A session and drop in your questions, and Montserrat or Manny would pick it up from there. And here is Manny's Instagram. There you go. All right. So talk to me about, Manny, how is TFA is using InsuredMine to achieve their goal and manage the team?
So I have staff as well. So I have two people that run the front. We have just to give you a visual, we have about a 2,400 square foot office, my main office. And then of course we have 20 other offices all over the place. Some of them tax places. So I have 3 different tax places. I have three different auto insurance companies. They put financial architects inside of their already successful company. So it's a lot to manage, you know. So I have two people working the front. Now they're in charge of my Yelp. They're in charge of my answering detailed questions from my 800 number. They're in charge of sending out quotes, things of that nature. And then I have Jessica, who runs my operations. She's in charge of contracting. She's in charge of doing random stuff like getting my laundry and things like that. She doesn't mind. I have mad respect for her. She's such a sweetheart, but she's like, what do you want to eat today? And I'm like, oh man, I hired the right person. But, you know, doing things that are, and again, respect to everybody's business model, but doing things that are for their $20 an hour work. My job is to be the catalyst, to throw wind at the fire, to charter the course of the ship. Where everybody else needs to have their own operations and their own responsibility. So that's 3 people on my staff. And then I have a marketing person. She does all my events. And then I have Mariah. She's my chief operating officer for my franchises. So she takes care of all the attorneys and all the CPA stuff. And she's, man, without her, I'd probably be out of business.
She's a smart one for sure.
Yeah, she really is. I should probably take a life insurance policy out on her. Key man, by the way. And then lastly, I have a videographer. So the reason why I share my Instagram so often is because my videographer will put videos on my Instagram to push publication. So I have all these different officers in place, and they know that their number one responsibility is to notate the CRM system, as shocking as that sounds. Mind you, again, I was recruited by the number one most inspirational, motivational guy. He speaks within 5 minutes, you will laugh and cry. He's that good. He didn't tell me to get a CRM system when I first got involved. You want to know my biggest regret when I first got involved in the industry? Not having a CRM system. I really got my act together the past maybe 5 or 6 years in finding InsuredMine has been dramatically improving my business model. And the reason why is because we always get into business having the end in mind. The end in mind for me is selling my book of business at some point in time, and or giving it to my son, who's 22 years old, and he's about to leave the Navy in February. I'm really proud of him. So knowing that, I need to have my act together. So the CRM is that. It's, imagine having just sheets of paper with all your clients on them. That's 1987. You're gonna be put out of business. So having a CRM that you own now, that you can give to the predecessor or the person buying your business, is so important. Now, what does it have to have? It has to have groups. I have subsystem groups, which I can talk about if you'd like me to. It has notes where I can put permanent notes inside of the system, so it covers my assets. You know what I mean? So if I have Bob Jones who calls me and says he wants to roll over his 401k, and he says that he doesn't want risk in the stock market anymore, I'm putting that in the notes, because if he were to ever come back to me 4 years from now and say, I never told you that, it's notated in the system. So we're pretty regulated in the insurance and securities industry. And I want to make sure that I have a resource that we can notate these different specifics. Mm-hmm. Also, I got like 4 emails today back, and I see them on my phone. My staff checks them, but they responded because I have 4 guys that had birthdays today, and the CRM system automatically shot out happy birthdays. That's a life changer to me, because I don't have to personally text message them and tell them happy birthday. The CRM system takes care of that. I could go on and on about a CRM system, bro.
No, this is great. I want to take a question. Shauna has a question here. I want to pull that up here. So what is your renewal process like? I would like to know how you use automation and what type of question you use to find new opportunities. I guess there is three questions. Let's break it down. Talk about renewal, and then we'll talk about how are you finding new opportunities before we go into automation.
So renewals in life insurance are different because if it's term insurance, you're not paid renewals. You're just paid upfront commission. So if a client puts $2,000 a year into life insurance in its term, you're getting a percentage of the $2,000 within a week of approval. If it's permanent, it's going to pay you an upfront commission, and then it's going to pay you a residual based on how much they're putting into the plan. Normally, it's about 2.5% of monthly premium. So if the client's putting in $500 a month, which is pretty much my average client, me personally, that's 2.5% of 500 is what I'm getting in residuals every single month. Annuities has 3 different options of how to pay, A, B, or C. You could take an upfront lump sum, or you could take a trail that will pay you until, unfortunately, they meet their maker.
Mm-hmm.
Secondarily, the second question was, how do you automate it? Automation is of course more techy. I left my most recent employee. He helps my branches be profitable. So he'll go in, and let's say someone has a question about life insurance. He has an automated way of responding to the question, and it's quick. So the client goes, I'm interested in a life insurance quote. It'll be an automatic response that says, terrific. The next step would be click this link and share some detailed information. That's their date of birth, if they have any medical challenges, how much death benefit they were looking for. So one resource that I do use quite frequently is YouTube, and I'm going to punch it in here. Our YouTube channel is the Financial Architects. And if someone is kind of confused about, hey, how much life insurance should I get? The Financial Architects YouTube explains it in 4 minutes. So I'll shoot out a link on YouTube that says DIME, D-I-M-E. So you need to anticipate death. Do you want doves at your funeral? Income, how much income are you making? It's 10 times your annual income. M is for mortgage, and E is for education. The licenses that you need is a life-only license or life and health if you plan on being in Medicare, which if you're over 65, you know how important that is. But majority of my agents are life-only. I'm life and health. So if they wanted a group policy, they would get it through my license, and I would help them out. You got it.
All right, going back to that third question, the third part of the question was, how do you find opportunities? That's the $1 million question.
Man, there's Roshan, I have to tell you, I'm like within this hour, I'll probably have 3 or 4 referrals that I have to send to my assistant. Me, I'm so busy. I'm busier than a one-legged man in an ass kicking contest. I'm like all the time, nonstop. And I have to put my phone away by 9 p.m. and put it on silent. Otherwise, my girlfriend gets all pissed off at me. But anyways, so when I get these leads and as they're coming in, it's important that I shoot them out, right? So the opportunity I've created in 3 different aspects. Number 1 is a car insurance company and homeowners insurance company. Because 1 out of every 10 people that walk in, I've learned, asks, do you do life insurance? And unfortunately, the property and casualty person says no. So I market that, of course. The secondary person is a CPA. So most CPAs and tax advisors, 9 out of 10 of them, have no idea what a SEP IRA or traditional IRA deduction can do for their business. It totally catapults them. It creates way more value. So when my agents or brokers walk into the tax office and they ask them, who do you refer your SEP IRAs and traditional IRAs to? And they say nobody, or they say the bank. Normally we shoot them a YouTube and we express to them, hey, you shouldn't shoot it to the bank because the bank pretty much has one product for them. So we offer a discount brokered option. I mean, I got Prudential, I got Fidelity, I got, we do Merrill Lynch structures. I got my hands in the cookie jar. So that's on the CPA side. The CPA is the absolute best referral partner because everyone thinks their CPA is Jesus Christ, and they're not. I mean, unfortunately, they have issues, man. They don't know sometimes where to refer their clients. And then the last one is real estate and lenders. And this is more up the property and casualty company's alley. Here's why. When you guys walk into these offices and you ask them, who do you do your homeowners with? All you have to do is pivot the question, say, who do you do your homeowners and mortgage protection with? And all these real estate professionals and lenders are looking for value. All of them want a public speaker to walk into their office and impress them with information and value. And they all want the proper foundation. They do not want a recruiting organization in their operation because they recruit agents. They don't want them to be recruited out. So they're looking for information. And the book builds double after that point. So the opportunity is right there in the questions. And it's really simple, actually. I have a script that goes through all of that, of what questions to ask and what responses to give.
Interesting. Wonderful. Thanks for all that insight. Now guys, go to your CPA, go to your mortgage guys, go, so that's interesting.
I'm giving away the house today, Roshan. So if you were local, I'd ask for dinner.
I would fly in, Manny, to have a dinner with you. Awesome. Guys, feel free to draft in another question if you have, while I'll just continue on the series of questions I have here. So again, I'm just taking the whole concept and the idea here, which is very mind-boggling, to the execution level. Okay, these guys, they got all excited. They know, okay, I think there is a real opportunity of, okay, I can cross-sell life now. What do you think? And I bet, I want to hear from many of them, are you selling life insurance today? So all of you guys, if you want to just type in the chat and mention yes or no, that will give us an idea. But while you do that, so what becomes the next step beyond just, okay, I need to get licensed?
Well, first, it's kind of like having a driver's license. If not a lot of people that have driver's license are good at driving a car. And as a matter of fact, when I first got my driver's license when I was 16 years old, I got in 2 car accidents. I wasn't the best driver. The same thing happens when you get an insurance license or life insurance or investment license. Unfortunately, they're practicing on their clients. And yes, that's where field training is very important. You should have maybe a crutch expert in the office or a crutch person that's somewhat seasoned. They've been there for 9 months or they've heard the questions. The foundation is really important. So I've seen people get life insurance licenses and they try and do it on their own and they go, oh man, that just doesn't work. It's not that it didn't work. They had horrible training or they didn't work. So the next step after you get a license is, I hate to beat a dead horse, but you should funnel all of your contacts into your CRM system and you send out a mass email or mass text message. Normally it's to 12, 20 of your favorite clients, and you just give them a small introduction. Hey, Bob, I just got my insurance license and we're opening an office in the local area. We wanted to make sure that you're okay, you and your family are okay in that category, but more so, if you know of anybody that we can assist, we'd love the opportunity to compete for their business. If you try and attack them, they're not interested, they're okay. But once you start asking for referrals, all of a sudden, they're like, why didn't you ask me? It's really weird. People are awkward and weird, me included, by the way. So they should be asked for referrals. If somebody asks me, like I have 3 kids, my daughter's 13 years old. I love my daughter to death. I'd do anything for her. If her friend's mom asked me, which she has asked me for life insurance information because she knows what I do. Of course, I'm going to try and help as much as possible. But if you don't have that label on yourself yet, you need to create the label first because people want to do business with experts.
Yep.
Years ago in the dot-com bubble, did you know, Roshan, that they thought the internet was going to put life insurance agents out of business? It's laughable.
Well, every
Internet.
business has that kind of a thing, you know. Well, I'm not sure specific to that, but you know, I can just imagine.
Internet sales on life insurance is still at 4%. So 96% of the time, these people want a person that has a heartbeat and a good label on themselves to do business with. So they're still recognizing that. Yelp is big too, you guys. So if you have a Yelp, I have like 90 something 5-star reviews on Yelp. So recognition, credibility is important, integrity is important. So the next step would really be get training. I use YouTube a lot. I have a lot of my friends on YouTube. YouTube is the #2 search engine here in the United States, and that's pretty dramatic. Right behind Google, that's pretty strong.
Yep, awesome. All right, I see a question coming from Brittany. What is the best way to start educating yourself on the world of life insurance?
I'd say YouTube, the absolute #1 way, because not every YouTube is going to be correct. Just be ready for that. So even though they're pitching a terrific YouTube, it's not going to be correct, but it's good to get the verbiage. It's good to get the know-how on YouTube. Like I'll give you an example. I have my own personal YouTube channel under Manny Soto, and I posted some old videos. There's something called a 59.5 rule and a 72 rule today. That changed in 2020. It used to be the 70.5 rule. And I made that video, I think in 2018 or 19. So that video's old. It's wrong now. But I still have it there because I got like, I don't know, 10,000 views or something like that. So I just leave it up there. Just be careful of what you learn. And of course, like I said before, go with a broker. If it's not me, go with somebody local or someone that you trust. If you go to Yelp, you'll look for a lot of reviews, and those reviews will really help you out because Yelp is pretty neutral. Well, neutral to a degree. They're always trying to sell you the next package up, but Yelp's pretty neutral with their reviews.
Awesome. No, that's great to know. Any other question? Because as we are kind of wrapping up to the session and bringing to a closure of it, but you know, nevertheless, I think this has been, I think for me, one of the most educational session. You know, I have learned so much about not only how life insurance works, but you know how it. Now I think I should get a license. Just say.
One quick detail, Roshan, because like I said, we don't just do life insurance, we do more of the investment plans as well. I do money workshops. So there's a marketing company out there that will put butts in seats for you. These are prospects that have more than $250,000 of investable assets, and they actually put them in a seat. It's awesome. So if I put $7,000 or $8,000 into a seminar, I'll have more than likely 40 to 50 butts in seats. If you guys are writing notes, let me tell you something, a dramatic market out there is the senior market. The average guy that does what I do is 63 years old, average. They're all going to retire, and unfortunately, the need is dramatically going up. So if you got a guy that's 68, 69 years old, they're worried about their health care. They're worried about running out of money because they know life expectancy is going up. And they're worried about losing the money in the stock market right now because the stock market's taken a dramatic hit. Recession will be second quarter, which is the 30th of this month. We'll know if we're in a recession. But 60 to 70% of economists are saying recession is inevitable. So when that happens, historically speaking, back in 2008 and 9, when unemployment was at 9.9%, lots of people are rolling their money into annuities. Guess what license you need to sell an annuity? Life insurance. So with the life insurance license, you can do IRAs, and it makes you flex. So you have a lot more flexibility of the insurance product. You have a lot more flexibility of the financial knowledge, and it really starts to teach you a little bit more about economics in general and how well versed you can be at some point in time in the future. So that's a big plug. Is 401k rollovers are right now really starting to aggregate into annuities.
Awesome. Well, that's wonderful information right there. So I hope people are taking notes here and capturing the details. So as we come to an end of this, I know, Manny, for the last 48 minutes, you have been just showering information after information. Those are all good nuggets, and I'm sure a lot of people will be benefited by that. I do see one question coming in. So Amanda has a question. I think I may have missed it earlier, or no, it just came in. Do you require your agents to utilize a CRM?
Say that one more time.
Do you require your agents to utilize a CRM?
I do personally. So different brokers have different, like I said, I have 20, let's just call it 20 brokers. And each one of the brokers, they pretty much own their own business. I'm just there to give a system, give assistance, and be somewhat of a wholesaler for them. They have their own agents. So if their agents come to me and ask me a question, I normally follow the line of direction or the line of management, if you will. And I ask them, hey, did you ask your broker? What did your broker say? And then I normally just agree with the broker, and maybe I'll call the broker later and say, hey, here's a conversation I had with one of your agents. If it were me, I'd probably do it this way, but it's completely up to them. In my own brokerage shop, I let them know in my expectation meeting, you have to have a CRM. You have to.
Yep.
And contrary to what other companies believe in, I believe they should be in line with your CRM system.
Yep.
So some people get crazy and they're like, I don't want to pay $50. If I get some of that, then I already go in thinking, if you're not willing to pay $50, $70, $80 a month for your CRM system, you're wasting my time, because they're not investing in their business. So if they want freebie with CRM, they're going to want freebie with everything else. And that's just not the pedigree of agent that I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. So yes, I'm running around the block to get next door, I guess. But yes, you should have them all get CRMs. And if not, they're wasting your time. I would not waste my time. Is way more valuable at this point than any agent trying to make me a $800,000 override. No, thank you. I'm good.
Errol Jackson has a question about, hey, do you mind sharing a high-level workflow within InsuredMine that's successful within your life insurance business? Do you have a 10-day pipeline stage with 10 emails, text kind of thing?
That's a real technical question. Errol, I normally would pass that on to my staff. My staff is the InsuredMine gurus. They're the geniuses. So again, I'm strategizing. I'm pointing towards the direction where we're going, and having InsuredMine as the CRM choice in our whole organization is important. But it's kind of like Henry Ford when he showed up one day with 8 of his heads of direction. He didn't know he didn't know 80% of the questions, but he had the direct contact to get that. But to give you a little bit of workflow on what I expect is I have maybe, let's call it 3,000, 4,000 contacts on my own, okay? Now, mind you, all the other 120 agents and brokers, they have their own contacts. I don't touch them. I don't even want them. My contact expectation is my clients need to be reached out to every 6 months, at least by text message. So we do have a drip campaign, email drip campaign that goes out once a month now. It used to be once a week until it was a little bit too much. And that's just me. So once a month, that's the expectation. Yes, it is set up. And yes, there's specific scripts that are on the CRM system, which is cool because I could share them with my other branches. On that, so that's one. Number two is, and that's more of a newsletter. Number two is birthdays. I think it's perfect when you send a birthday email, a birthday text message, because that's their most special day. And not to be gender specific, but women love when you remember their birthday. They're like, oh my gosh, they remembered my birthday. What an amazing company. And men, we're like, man, okay, we're another year older. But it's just dramatic when it comes to that on the birthday side. Anniversaries, there's a specific spot in there for anniversaries too. I don't mess with that, but it's cool to have that option. So what I loved about InsuredMine, I could totally be your advocate, heavy man. But what I loved about InsuredMine is that they can literally doctor up that inside of it. So it's kind of cool that I could put in whatever I want in the tabs and I can manufacture my own CRM. I love that about InsuredMine.
Yeah. So how many of you guys are running birthday automation? Is there anybody who's not running? Because that's table stakes to me, as you know, as Manny is saying, everybody should be doing that. I would be curious to hear. Well, I'm getting one response. I see, you know, guys, feel free to jump in and put in your response. Would love to hear. But yes, building that sequence, doing that drip, you know, picking up something like a birthday or an anniversary, you know, these are wonderful ways to connect and remind them that you exist for them.
From a sales standpoint, Roshan, this is how I describe it to my agents. Imagine a big tree with a bunch of branches. Okay, I got a ton of branches out there on my tree. The raw material are your prospects. So imagine your prospect falling from the sky. You don't want them to hit the ground and die. You want them to hit as many branches as possible to cushion the blow. Mm-hmm. My branches are my marketing branches. One of them is a CRM, strong CRM system. You have to have that. The secondary branch could be my social media. Like yesterday, I rolled over a 401k for a lady. I shared the scenario. I didn't share her name, but I shared the scenario on my Instagram and I shared it on Facebook. This is something I do at least once every 3 days. I had a lady hit me up that I've never met before. She's one of my Facebook friends, and she said, hey, you know my cousin, and I need to roll over my 401k too. I've lost 13 grand in the past 2 weeks. That's a branch. If I'm not actively working the branch, it's no wonder I'm not actively getting the referral. Yep. So again, paying X amount of dollars for a CRM system, it's you need to have your brain examined if you're not doing that respectfully. And it's a deduction against your corporation anyways. I'd rather have a CRM than pay it to the IRS. I'll tell you that much.
I appreciate that. Hey, thanks, Manny, for everything, you know, all the information you shared, all the, you know, Facebook contact or, you know, Instagram, YouTube, all of that. So that's wonderful. As we hit the top of the hour, a couple of logistics that I want to quickly talk about. If you want to move to the next slide. Guys, learning from the best here, Manny, as he says, yes, there is community, there is this group that is very exclusive to this growth mindset. You know, so feel free to join our InsuredMine Facebook group, join our Facebook chat group that we have, you know, and then most important is the next sessions coming up. So going to the next slide, our next one is just building up on this one is InsuredMine your marketing system? Come and learn about all about marketing. As Manny said, it's a branch. So how and what we are doing in the SEO, which is search engine optimization, what you can do in a PPC, which is pay per click, or creating content on YouTube, Instagram, and several of those. What does that look like, and how does that get you to those prospects and even to your current clients? So that would be a wonderful. If you have not signed up yet, Montserrat, feel free to drop in the link for folks. And our follow-up sessions in July is on tech stack and service and claim. So here is a series of all these next I am impossible events coming up, and hopefully we all continue to build this momentum together where we all are learning from each other, helping each other out, having all these questions that is being answered for the general audience. And that's what it is all about, is to build and help each other to be better tomorrow, for better tomorrow. With that, I want to thank Manny once again for everything he has shared with us. So thank you, Manny. Any last word of wisdom before we wrap up here?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Anybody needs to have a conversation with me or something, Roshan has my information. I'm not one of these guys that like, oh no, I'm going to teach them too much and then they're going to become my competition. There's 39 million people here in California. There's 335 million-ish in the United States. I would be acting as in fear and scarcity if that were to be me. And I am not that person. I'm totally love and abundance. And I wish everybody, there's tons of room for way more success. And that's exactly how people have more success. They wish it upon everybody else. So I really appreciate the opportunity. And I wish everybody the best.
Perfect. Thank you, Manny. And thank you, Montserrat, for, she's the quiet, beautiful face behind all the work we do here.
Monse is awesome. Monse is awesome. She's like, hello, Manny, how are you? I was like, Monse, we're related. I was like, we're related. You're my cousin. You're a Soto. You got to act as if, girl.
Where's Soto?
There you go. There comes the connection.
Yes.
No, I teased Manny to Monse, and that, I believe you and Manny are related. You guys are cousins. And somebody says that is racist. I says, no, I think it's fun. All right,
fun.
wonderful guys. Thank you for all the wonderful time we spent together here. Wait until the